I'll hand you over to Alex Moore.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Alex Moore. I'll be talking about API security assurance through end-to-end testing. Just a quick question. How many of you are developers? Awesome. Appreciate it. Security engineers, application security engineers? Pen testers, hackers? All right, all the rest of you, right? All right, cool. So, a very critical topic, in my opinion, on software development today is API testing. We're going to learn how to integrate API testing into the software developer's lifecycle. And if you're not into software development, if you're an attacker, I'm going to teach you how to create automated tests, Dust-like tests, so that you can replicate in your workflow testing various applications. But then you just click a button and all your tests go and hopefully are green. If you have the red ones, it means you found a problem and you need to go and report that to the engineering team. Brief introduction of myself. Based out of Israel, was in Hungary 3 months ago, so very excited to be back. This is Millennium Monumentum. My role in AB InBev, the beer company, right? You know AB InBev, the beer company? Stella, Corona, Budweiser, Hoegaarden. So I work at a beer company doing cybersecurity in a beer company. For the last 4 years, I work with engineers and work with software e-commerce developers, helping them kind of reach out to the B2B, reach out to the B2C, building applications that scale millions of customers. And so for me, it's never boring, right? In cybersecurity, we are never bored. We actually get to know the developers writing the code and then sit next to them and help them and whisper to them, hey, you should check this, hey, you should check that. And this way, as long as developers keep writing code, as long as people keep creating software, as cybersecurity, we're going to have work, right? And as people always going to have more code and more software, not replaced by AI. Hopefully, we're also not going to be replaced by AI. We'll always get to work. So this is me. Nice to meet you. I think that doesn't work. Okay. What are we going to cover today? A few motivation slides on how I actually came up with the reason we need to do better. Actually, it's not my idea. The motivation for this talk actually came from OWASP SAM. If you've heard of OWASP SAM, the maturity model by OWASP, there's one section there called security testing, and there's a level 3 maturity. Level 3 maturity means that not the pen testers do the test, not the Dust, not the automated tools do the test, but it's actually embedded in the developer's lifecycle. They wake up in the morning, they write their code, and they actually write the security testing themselves. If you've worked with software developers, any idea how much time they spend on testing? A little. I don't know. It depends, right? Are they a contractor? So as a contractor, they want to deliver software as fast as possible and move on to the next project. If they're within the company, if they're in-sourced developer or part of the company workforce, they want to invest in this testing, right? Because they want to have a stable product. They want to have no bugs, nothing to return from the customer saying something is not working. So we will see today, or we will learn that software testing actually takes 50% of the developer's time. And now if I want to take another 5% of the developer's time to embed security testing, it's a win-win situation for all of us. So that's the motivation for the talk. If you're not into software testing, this is the first time you're hearing about development lifecycle. I will introduce a few concepts on software testing, then come up with some ideas on how you can embed security testing within software testing, and we'll finalize with a few questions. Hopefully you will have questions in the end of this session. Motivation for the talk. So some of the communications I've had with several product teams that I worked with before was I'm coming to them as a security professional. I help them secure the product. I hand over a report. Hey, can you please fix that within 30 days? Because compliance SLA is 30 days. So here's 1,000 findings. Go and fix that. If you need any help, I'm here available, but here's the dependencies you need to fix. Here's static analysis. Here's penetration testing findings. And that whole conversation with developers, that whole conversation between security and product is something that I feel we need to change, right? Now it works? No. instead of giving them those reports, instead of giving them that kind of communication, I want it to be a little different, right? I want it to be a gift that we can give them. I wanted our relations to change. Not I'm coming to test you, but we're working together to secure a product that we believe can help the company. And if you've been here on the previous sessions with John and kind of heard about the canary tokens, this is one of those examples, right, where I actually want to give the developer a tool to secure the product, right? Also, the session with Alina, where I wanna, if you're building an application, a mobile application, I want to give you the guidelines that you need to use Pixie, right? You need to have the OAuth workflow the correct way. I want you to have the secrets, but I want you to embed canary secrets within your repo so that whenever someone compromises your repo, you're gonna be aware of that. Right? So kind of 2 tips, and so we get started. If your company is building a product and you're starting a new code repository, embed canary tokens within that code repository. Same wise, if you're building a mobile application, work with your developers to make it secure. But overall, this is the type of interaction that I want to have, especially with junior developers, right? I think if you have heard of developers going through secure coding session in college and university, doesn't exist, doesn't happen, no more or less nowadays. So the idea is to start when they're young, when the developers just finished or graduated the college, teach them how to do security so that in the future, the developers actually implement and do security as their day-to-day operation, let's say day-to-day workflow. And the challenge today is that developers, they have the keys to the kingdom. They are the kingdom. The product exists thanks to the developers. No developers, no product, right? You can have security, but there's nothing to test. You can have QA, nothing to build on. So developers have the keys to the kingdom. They create the infrastructure. They run the pipelines. They build the features, the innovation. They build the front end, they build the back end, they build the interactions, third-party APIs. Everything is developers today. We can go home. So they have the keys to the kingdom, and we just need to help the developers come up and make it and lock it. Teach them the guardrail, give them the guardrails. Teach them on threat modeling. Teach them on abuse cases. Why? Because of you guys here, right? You're the ones here that are trying to hack their products. So I'm not going to take away your job. I'm going to just make it a lot harder by giving the developers the tools to write their own testing. Brief introduction to software testing. I'll try again with this one. Maybe it would work. Yeah, it did work. Awesome, I think. So software testing, right, is like the quality control. You would not buy a car that has not been tested. You would not buy a car that has faulty features. The same way you would not buy a product that has not been tested, that doesn't work, does not produce the required spec. So software testing becomes the key, right, to having a successful product, especially with DevOps today, right? If you're looking into DevOps, there's 2 words, sorry for the buzzwords, CI and CD. The CI piece is the test. It's the continuous integration, meaning that your software continues to work with new features, with new implementations, with new interactions, with new APIs, with new innovations happening in your software. So that CI piece is where we're going to tap into. So in a way, there's a pyramid coined, I think, by a few very smart people. It's not working. I'm going to have to go back. My Mac refuses to work with that. We have unit tests, right? Unit test is testing the single operation, create user, create appointment, create vendor, create sign up and update data. You do the single point of interaction, single functionality, that's called unit test. Next level here, integration test. Integration test, you're actually looking into your application with a database, your application with third party, your front end communicating with, your backend communicating through several APIs. One API sending to another API. So integration test, meaning that that's our CI, continuous integration. Your integration tests run continuously, meaning that the system starts to work as a system, right? But there's another level on top of that that is called system testing or end-to-end testing, and that's where I want to start today, where I actually have the front end, have the back end, the database, the payment providers, the logging features, everything works together, and I want to make sure that my application produces the expected results. And this is where I also want to start with the end-to-end testing of application security. Just a hint, right? How would that look like? If I have an API to create a user, I will create a user with a malicious payload in the first name. Then I will open the browser, I will go to the user profile page, and I will check if there are any reflections, right? If there's any cross-site scripting popping up. So this end-to-end test is what I want to teach the user how to do. On top of that, and that's why we are trying to minimize that, we have the manual test, right? I will go open my web suite, open my proxy, and try to do business logic bypass, try to do SQL injection, try to do cross-site scripting. I do want to reduce the manual step over to automated steps. There are a few more concepts like contract testing and functional testing, component testing. I've kind of simplified that a little bit just to make it easier. We're going to focus today on API testing because, you know, API is like the mother today of all software. Everyone has APIs, everyone builds APIs, and everyone kind of relies on those to have their business functionality. So if we're going to introduce those security tests, we will start with the API testing because we want to fix them before they are exploited, right? The OWASP Top 10 API, if you've heard of that, right? Many of you, many of those checks are around authorization checks, are around data exposure, are around secrets management, dependency checks. So we're going to try to implement those checks as part of our development lifecycle so that, again, the challenge here is to give the developer the tools to write and do security on their own. From the people here on the development side, any frameworks that you guys use for software testing? Any framework that you've used before or heard of software testing frameworks? Cypress? Anyone? Supertest? Cypress? Okay, cool. Supertest, also a known framework. Catalan, also a known framework. JUnit, if you're using Java, JUnit testing, right? So the incentive for doing security testing is just like the incentive for doing application testing or end-to-end testing or developer testing, integration testing, is that you will see that I run the test every time I write code. And if something breaks in the test, means something in the security also broke. So I need to fix that. It for sure saves me time because if you're running your application or you're doing your penetration testing, maybe you're doing that once a year, maybe twice a year. But then how long does an attacker have a chance to exploit a vulnerability if the cycle is once every 2 years? So if we can do that faster, you can find vulnerabilities faster. And we can fix those vulnerabilities faster and release to production. I want to teach the developer, come up with security abuse cases. I want to give them the tools to think, what can happen to my applications? How many of you developers trust users? All developers trust users, right? This is what we need to change. We need to make sure the developers assumes all their users are attackers, right? With the hoodies or with the spike and the sword, all the users are malicious. Like if you're looking into traffic, most of the traffic hitting your applications, your products, is malicious traffic. It's bots traffic, it's port scans, it's automated scanners. Most of your users are malicious. You need to assume that. You need to build input validations. You need to build security into your product. And for sure that entitles performance improvement. And we are actually coming up with the change with the edge cases where if I have a payment management solution and I can come up with security testing to prevent fraud, then I would not wake up in 6 months saying, hey, someone stole $1 million. Why? They did microtransactions. Someone stole $1 million from me because they canceled an order and they booked another order and they canceled an order and that's how they managed to get the merchandise without paying for that. So that's the idea here. I want to introduce an application called Insecure Cuts. As you are kind of trying to imagine, it's a vulnerable application. Today, it's very hard to create a vulnerable application. I kind of ask myself when I find vulnerabilities, But why aren't they using the framework? Why aren't they using the known, valid way of coding correctly? You know, if I want to write a vulnerable application, I really need to find myself going into Google and looking for code snippets of vulnerable functionality, because the frameworks today actually help you build secure code. The frameworks today help you deliver secure and fast software. So if you want to break that, you have to intentionally try to break that, right? It's like you have an autonomous car, and all the cars around you are autonomous. But man, you go to manual and you want to go faster and bypass everyone because you don't like the guardrails that was put for you. You want to go and write SQL your own, you know? So the insecure application is very hard to build and make it insecure. But kind of high level of the features I'm going to cover for that, and I'm going to use that as an example. Barber operations, we have the barbershop. Barbershop also is a user. They are registered to the application. Within the barbershop, you have stylists. They are the people that actually do the work, right? To do the haircuts, to do the hair dye. We have the appointment. You can schedule an appointment. You can cancel an appointment. And that's where I also want you to start thinking, okay, if I have an application like that, if I need to break that, if I need to build that, what security abuse cases do I need to introduce in that application so that no one can compromise my functionality? Reporting, analytics, maybe payments, right? We need to get the payments. So a person comes, schedules an appointment, they will come to the barbershop, they will get the haircut, now they need to pay. How? Maybe a mobile wallet, Google Pay, a PayPal. So all those things I want to also consider when I'm doing my threat modeling, when I'm building my application. A few mock-ups on the integrations. So you would go and search for your barbershop in your area. You will find the services provided by the barbershop. You can see the various prices provided by the specific stylist, right? Everyone has different pricing that they would go, right? If I'm a prestige stylist and I have my customer base, I want to charge more. If I only do a VIP customers, I want to charge more. If I have some diploma, certificate, I want to charge more. So different pricing between different stylists. Then if I select a date, a time, book an appointment, for sure I need to be registered. So high-level functionality that we're going to cover: register, book an appointment, and find barbershops. Okay? Let's build that product. Minimum viable product, what is called an MVP. Again, I want to get as fast as possible to the test cases: registration, authentication, profile management, appointment booking, barbershop profiles. Now, I want to show you how that actually translates into developer language. These are features, high-level features. When developers come to test those, they will actually look like this. Something called RSpec, coming from Ruby specs kind of testing. So I will describe the functionality, describe what I'm testing, and then actually go and write myself what it should do. It should allow me to sign up a user and then make the request, the REST request, and look at the response. It should respond with 200 OK, 201. It should be a post response or a GET request, post request, and it should have the specific text within that field so that I know the tests run. And those tests are going to run every time I build my code. Okay? So a few more examples here on the appointment booking. More or less like that, right? Appointments, book an appointment, user profile management, myself, edit my account, view my appointments, and the same for the barbershop. Register a barbershop, edit a barbershop. I actually added a few more appointment booking because I want to deep dive on those, right? If your mind is security mind, you can already come up with some abuse cases when there's a book an appointment or cancel an appointment. I won't tell you the secret, but hopefully we can come with those abuse cases together, and we can give the developers actually the way of thinking on how to exploit those. So high level, how it looks like: basic test, not security test, for authorization, registration. So describe authentication. It should sign up. The test should be successful. The application should allow me to sign up. The functionality would work on signing up a user with what is called a data transfer object, meaning that my users would send me data. I need to build an object out of that. These are the fields that I only allow to receive from the user. Any other fields would not be accepted. What's the name of the attack if I'm accepting other fields from the user? Mass assignment, right? So only the fields that I allow will be accepted. It's called the data transfer object. My email, my password, first name, last name. And then post, I can use my mouse right here. Yay. Post to that endpoint, send the data transfer object, and I expect that 201 OK created, and I expect that there's going to be a JUT created out of that, and my profile will be defined, right? Feel free to come up with some questions, write them down. We'll hopefully get enough time to ask them later. There is my mouse. I need to find my mouse back. Here it is. Okay, you're probably thinking already, right? Just like we said in the first place. I can do SQL injection on the login page. I can do cross-site scripting on the API and then on the front end. I can brute force the password. I can do rate limiting check on the registration page. Can I register hundreds of users, right? So all these checks would actually be implemented in the application. And it's called end-to-end because I have front-end, back-end, database, everything working together, right? So you can already come up with some use case. And the challenge that I'm giving you is how do you teach your product teams, how do you teach your developers, how do you actually build up a test harness that you can test those in a continuous way. Today you're testing app A, tomorrow you're testing application B, on the third day you're testing application C. You can reuse those tests to actually implement and automate them within your application so that you don't need to spend time manually creating users. You actually spend time on bypassing business logic as a breaker. Let's do an example sanity check. This is all actually starting to do with application security, right? He's the kitten who's going to be the junior hacker. They want to make sure that people should not sign in with an incorrect password, right? It's trivial, but we need to have those tests because sometimes there's account bypass. Sometimes we're not testing the password correctly, not calculating the hashes correctly. So I want to make sure that, sanity check, the user cannot authenticate with an incorrect password. So going to get a 403 error there, going to get, the test would run, are going to be green, meaning the application is working. Let's go in a little bit. Let's challenge ourselves, right? Here's an actual cybersecurity test that I would like my developers to implement. How many of you have had challenges with your product teams or have opened findings to say password complexity is not there? You can have a simple password. Password does not check for blacklisted words, does not check for exposed, common top 10, top 100 passwords. This is a known test. So if I can script that, if I can make my application already be secure, so already got a win. So this test would actually check if I can register with a weak password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I expect that the answer is no. So let's, as a tester, as a security engineer, I'm going to give my developers this test case, this example. I'm going to ask them to run, and surprise, the test has failed. You should not sign up with a weak password. The test has failed, meaning that today you can sign up with an insecure password. So now I'm going to work with them. I'm going to have in the user story, I'm going to have that test should not sign up with a weak password. I'm going to ask them, hey, can you fix that, right? So that they can fix that in the development stage. Don't need to wait for penetration testers. Don't need to wait for security assessments. They can fix that when they're building the product. Let's try to see how they're going to fix that. Let's see if you see this screen over there. No, I don't see that. Hold on. Now you see that? So this is the test. This is the test harness here. I don't know how to make it larger. Hey, it's larger. Let's see what happened. Authentication, should be sign up. Should not sign up with a weak password. I expected that it should not fail, but actually got 201 created. User was able to sign up. So, gonna go to the developer. The developer is smart enough, hopefully, with their framework, and I'm gonna ask them, in the data transfer object, make sure, here's a validator, that this is a Nest.js, JavaScript, TypeScript, is strong password, and then require minimum length, How much do you want? 6, 7? How much do you want? 7. Let's go 7. All right. Now, let's see here, my tests. Still failing, right? Where is that? Oh, somehow. Oh yeah, now it failed, right? Because I said minimum length should be 7. If I'm going to try to authenticate or register with a 6-character, very weak password, the test will fail. So, by doing so, where is that? Should not sign up with a weak password. This test now passes because you would get 400. And the response would be password is not strong enough. Now my tests are green on that test. Why? Because I've helped the developer implement security features. Let's go another example. Where is that? Okay. Before going there, my slide's kind of messy. Everyone has heard here about security headers, right? HSTS, sniffing, X protection, CSP, and many other, like 15 security headers. What if I can help the developer actually write the test that those security headers exist in the application in the first place? It's a win-win situation. We would never have those findings again in a pen test report saying medium or low findings, go add security testing. It's going to be embedded already in my application. So these are the heads. I'm going to have the strict transport security implemented as part of the application. In Nest.js or in Node.js, anyone familiar with the library that can help me do security headers? No one? Okay, no worries. Now you're going to learn something new, right? Let's go. Where's my mouse? There it is. Cool. Look what happened. There's a library. I'm going to add a dependency called helmet. Like your helmet, it's going to help me do security. What happens before I do helmet? If I'm going to run my API test, I have like a interception proxy, right? Gonna send. See my regular headers here, X powered by content, E tag. No security headers. What happens after I add the helmet dependency? Suddenly, I get all those very cool headers, X-frame options, cross-site XSS protection, cross-origin opener policy, referrer, strict transport security out of the box. Now, I do need to configure that, right? It's very hard to use those out of the box because sometimes it would break my application. But that's the beauty. I can have the developer in design time, in development time, right? Shifting left, implement those as early as possible so that when I run my tests, they are green. I've just implemented security testing through the development time and helped secure my application. Let's do advanced level. Do you think developers today use ChatGPT, Bard, the other ones, Cloud, for developing applications, Copilot? They do, right? We're late. If you didn't think they're not, yeah, they are. Most of the time, it helps them be more productive. Today, we have to deliver features. We have to deliver functionality. So we use that AI for the code. Can we use AI for security? Can I ask the AI, here's a feature I'm building, define security requirements, define security testing, help me build a test harness that would help me secure my application. And the idea, hopefully, you will trust me that I can do that. I can go to the AI and I can design a very nice prompt, Hello, AI, you're an application security engineer. You're assigned to work on an application without exposing any details, right? I'm going to be confidential. I'm not going to give it any code snippets. I'm just going to ask it, can you help me? Can you be my co-pilot, right? To create appointments, users need to pay for the service after the appointment is completed. Produce security tests that will help me secure the product. So that here's the inputs, right? The below skeleton, right? The below placeholders is where I want him to fill. This is the regular functionality that developers test. This is the regular functionality that we as security also probably don't need to test because the application already works. But I want it to fill in the blanks, right, with those brackets. So for reference, use the OWASP Top 10 API, output using the same RSpec language. Now I know that we need to ask it to focus on business logic, right? Because we have the static analysis, we have the dependency scanners, we have the various automated tools that would find the low-hanging fruits, but I wanted to focus on business logic, authorization, privilege escalation, those things that actually pay. When you go to a bug bounty, you find SQL injection, but if you do account takeover, if you compromise the business logic, that pays a lot more. So I want to prevent that. I want to help the application come up with that. Produce at least 10 tests. Hopefully it can produce more. So let's see how that goes. Let's copy paste that. And go to one of the browsers. Let's see how that works with Bard. Let's take it from the code so that you believe me and I'm not fooling around. There it is. Same prompt. Act as an application security engineer, you're assigned to work. Before he's going to tell me what's going to happen, what do you think should book an appointment security test should be? Should I allow to book an appointment on behalf of someone else? No. Should I allow to cancel an appointment that I don't own? No. You can come up with those tests because you're security professionals. Can developers come up with those tests? Probably. Maybe if we force them in the sprint planning, hey, what can go wrong? But if I can give that to them, if I can teach them how to use AI to come up with security test cases, then it's a win-win. That's me giving the heart. I'm not coming to you with the report, go fix that. I'm actually coming to you with, let's fix the product. Let's build it better. Did it come up with the test cases? Let's see. So the first reply, not good. That's not what I wanted. Let's see the other reply. All right. Should prevent unauthenticated users from booking an appointment. That's the right test. No authenticated user, no unauthenticated user should make the test. Should prevent users from booking appointments for other users. Guys, AI is smart. It can come up with security test cases. It can help me come up with the business logic to test. So I can actually give the AI what the application is doing, help me test it. Should prevent users from canceling modified appointments that they did not book. I'm not cheating. That's actually security tests created by AI that I can use to improve my application. Business logic bypass should prevent users from booking appointments for unavailable times, right? Would you open a finding like that? It's gonna, you can ask, you as a tester can open a finding, maybe medium finding, maybe high finding, that you can make the application or the barbershop kind of unattended, flood them with requests. Fraud should prevent users from booking an appointment with invalid payment information. Correct. Now, should not have the barber have an appointment created by a malicious attacker with no real false payment information with test credit cards. So these are the tests that I want to implement within my application. Should prevent users from booking multiple appointments for the same time slot. So business logic and fraud and modifying the appointments after deadline. Who here would not open a finding if you can cancel an appointment while you're already at the barbershop, right? In the barbershop example, right? So making that the fraud, making the business logic bypass, flow bypass, security tests into the workflow. The same would happen, by the way, with the other AI, right? ChatGPT, where is he? Hello. Create appointment should require authentication, authorized users to create appointments, prevent success, guys. This is success. This is me working with developers. This is me creating a test harness to test security through development lifecycle, or to have reusable tests like business logic, create user, update user, change information, make sure BOLA testing, right? The broken object authorization, function testing for make sure that I am authorized to make the change. Everything in design time. So guys, what are next steps, right? Focus on the quick wins. Talk to your developers. Talk to your product teams. I'm here to help you. Let's build a secure product together. Create a few templates. Give them those templates, like here's a test that you can actually go and implement within your product. Here's a bank of simple abuse cases that you can go and implement. Even for you as a penetration tester, you can start having your harness, you can test harness, you choose a framework, Supertest, Cypress, Catalan, Pactum. There are so many, JUnit, there are so many. Choose one that's your favorite, and if you don't know how to write code, then it's about time to learn. Penetration testers need to learn Python, need to know JavaScript, because it's the same language that the application is written on. So you need to be able to do those automations so you can start running your tests in the application and automate it and save time. Yeah. That's how we do that. So we can implement, we can authenticate, we can broker authentication, we can help our products be secure, and we can actually start measuring that how many of the tests are application tests, how many of the tests are security tests, how much am I investing into bulletproofing my product. That's questions time.
Thanks.
How you doing?
Thanks for the talk. The examples seem to be coming from some kind of training data that the barbershop example.
Say again?
So the barbershop example
Yeah.
seems to be like a standard training project. What about scenarios that are not in BARD's or GPT's training data? Have you evaluated these techniques?
So I gave it a very simple application. I didn't say barbershop operation. I said I have an application with appointments, come up with test cases. So it would typically be able to give it a feature. For example, you have an application to order groceries, and you can put orders. We can do the same example. I have an application that allows people to put orders, come up with security tests. So it would come up to say, cancel cart, change cart, look into someone else's order. All those, no test data. ChatGPT is all imagining in a positive way on its own. Feel free to try it out.
Right. And the other.
You want to try it out together? I mean, I don't mind.
I'm abstaining for now. The other question I wanted to ask is, what about like property-based testing? So these seem to be mostly like simple test cases, if this then that. Shouldn't developers also, or maybe first reach for property-based testing before they reach for AI?
Say again, on the property testing and?
Property-based testing before they like reach for AI. And
define property testing. Like we can do very complex test case, like register a user, then log in with that user, schedule an appointment, and then log in with another user, try to schedule an appointment for this user.
I mean property-based testing in the sense of quick check, if you are familiar with it.
So unit test, you mean?
Property-based, specifically.
What is property?
So in quick checks case, it generates test cases and minifies them when it finds errors. So it's kind of like a fuzzer.
Okay. Oh, so we can ask it. you feel free to play with the AI. It has a very rich model for OWASP top 10 and security tests. And yes, the developers should first check validations. So if you're talking about doing fuzzing testing with the application, we can have test cases to say, okay, generate various random characters and inputs. Then I'm going to try and say, okay, application should not accept input where the date is numbers only, right? So yeah, we should also invest in that, in creating various malicious inputs to give to the application.
I was thinking of like more complex inputs like a graph. You probably can't like use a generic tool for generating a graph or a whole database, but if you have the data type definitions, then you could do it as a developer.
Yeah, and I would do that with the company-owned AI instance, not to expose the code or not to expose the business logic to the public, but yeah, I mean, just give it a good prompt and improve the prompt as you go. Thank you.
Are there any more questions for Alex from the floor? Nothing from our online participants. In which case, Alex Moore, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure.